Hi, Dr. Shaji. It's an honor for me to have you on my channel.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And many congratulations for the successful launch of Aditya L1 mission, the much awaited project.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm also, as I told in my launch talk, it's a dream come true, really. So I'm also very happy so that we could complete the project and have the mission on its track to L1.
So what is the status now? The mission is heading towards the sun while we are talking here. And it is carrying a payload, which is partly working on the way to and clicking pictures for us, getting us updates on the way. So what new are we knowing every passing day?
So by Jan, after 100 days, it will be reaching its destination, and then we will have our planned in-session operation. So with that, it will be into the halo orbit. And coming to the status of the health of the spacecraft, all the systems are working fine, and we have two cameras on board. So one for specifically for the outreach purpose, so as to know to how the Earth Moon looks as we travel along. So that's what the picture you might have seen on the ISRO feed. It's for the observational purpose. We have another camera. And all the 7 payloads, of that some few payloads we are planning to switch on and see the health, and some calibration we like to do on the way towards L1, so that 100 days we will utilize for some of the calibration, and some of the payloads can be operated only after reaching L1.
So fingers crossed for that. Why L1?
Yeah, L1, you have normally, if you see a Sun Earth L1, L1 is a point, it's a vantage point to continuously observe the sun. Suppose if you take as a low Earth orbit, there we will have eclipse and you will not have all the time viewing the sun. Here it's continuously 24/7, we will have more observational time. And also it is, okay, that above that atmosphere, and it is little closer to the sun. So we'll have a better understanding and better viewing. That's especially this point was chosen so that we'll have a continuous 24/7 viewing of the sun.
This is the nearest point to the sun that we can reach, or the NASA missions or others have reached a bit far towards the sun as well.
Yeah. Yes, they have, if you take the solar probe recently, what they have launched, they are going almost have a flyby much closer much closer to the sun than what we have done. Till today, a lot of some 4 to 8 missions have gone into the L1 point, and now this is the first mission which are trying to go closer to the sun, but we cannot orbit, but just a flyby like this, so that, because as you see, when we observe in this L1, the poles of the sun are not very visible or very accessible. So they like to study the pole near the poles. So they were going as a flyby near that, so that the pole observation also can be made.
What are you expecting out of this Aditya L1 mission?
The first goal is to have a thorough understanding of the space weather aspects. So that once you have a good understanding of the space weather, only we can have a space alert, that further we can move further in the next missions to have a better space alert conditions we can understand. So it's mainly, first purpose is to understand the space weather, and next is that coronal heating, what you call, it's still it's not well understood what we can say. There are some 2-3 theories running. 2 theories, it's a magnetic reconnection, or as the center of the heating sun. So it's not very concrete that how the heating is happening. So we will, our VLC coronagraph, what we have, that will throw much insight into the coronal heating also.
How do you get involved in this Aditya L1 mission, and what motivated you to take the role of a project director?
It's like I have been involved in many of the GEO and LEO spacecrafts, which are all majorly the application spacecrafts. So having worked in all that, seeing my experience and this, they have been offered this project director post of this science mission. and I've been asked to take up this role. I was also very willing to take up this because being a science mission, you will have much more. It's something like a path-breaking mission, and it's a new and challenging mission. So I love to take up new and challenging things. So when I was offered this post, I willingly accepted it.
Since you are saying that it was very challenging, also, if you can just list down a few challenges that you faced while planning and executing the Aditya L1 mission, and how did you overcome them?
The first thing is it's actually the people management in the sense here it's not only the ISRO which is participating because the payloads are developed by the other science institutions, and there were lots of cultural differences between the science institution as well as the ISRO work culture. So the first thing which I felt very challenging is this getting and interacting well along with the science institutes and the pure scientist and getting the payloads get it done. That was the biggest challenge I have faced. And over this, a lot of new developments. And I have to, because the PSLV was chosen, they have to restrict the entire spacecraft design and configuration well within the mass limits. So a lot of things I need to do to contain the mass and keep the mass well contained at the same time, not losing the objectives of the mission. So
Which payload was the most challenging?
for that matter, all the 7 payloads are equally challenging. But of that, the VLC and the suit payload, they are the most challenging one. They have been the VLC was integrated by Indian Institute of Astrophysics, and the other one was by the IUCA of Pune. So these two are the most challenging one.
Okay. And your most
Mm.
memorable moment, if I want to know?
Yeah, the day I got all the payloads in my clean room, that is the most memorable event.
So all the payloads were successful in the first testing. The institutions did their work very well.
Uh, it's okay, but there are hiccups
Mhm.
as soon as when you integrate because though we have independently test with all the interfaces and all the test packages, but there will be always some hiccups when you really integrate in the spacecraft. So like that, I also had the payloads. There were some interface issues and all. We were trying to understand and just solve it, and luckily there is no big design changes called for, so other problems we could sort it out.
Could you tell us about a particular failure or setback that the Aditya L1 mission encountered, and that how the team managed to overcome it?
Yeah, that was actually there was the mirror that we have fabricated a mirror. There is a set of lenses which has to be fabricated
Mhm.
and to be tested and given to the VLC payload. So that mirror, no, during our vibration test, it failed. It broke because it was not able to withstand because normally we test our subsystems for the it has to withstand the launch when the launch vehicle lifts up you would have heard the sound and this, so that imparts a vibration to the payload what it is carrying. So our systems has to be designed to withstand such vibrations. Then the total we have to refabricate because it's a huge lens system, a 4 lens system, and it's a huge subsystem, optical subsystem. It failed, and then we have to go back to the design and analyze why it has failed and again refabricating. There was a huge some 3 4 months of delay we encountered because of that. Further everything
Okay.
got pushed. Effect unless this mirror gets and goes further, integration of the payload cannot happen, so it has a chain effect and we have a 6 months delay. So overall project.
What are the dynamics or the atmosphere inside the meeting rooms where decisions and planning for the Aditya L1 mission took place?
Yeah, there are many anxious moments because because as the launch also we had a window because of the launch vehicle limitation. We can every year we can have a window from Jan to August like that. So once you skip that, whole year will go. It's on my back of my mind always, that schedule criticality. will be always running in, and each meeting room it will be very anxious moments. How to make it? How what more parallel activities we can do to catch up with this? Whatever we have lost that time. So the last almost a year, it was the entire year, 1 year was going on like this. Every time when a problem comes, we'll be so anxious. So that what to do, how to fix it up, and how to make it happen so that we will not lose the time.
So there are heated arguments also at times that you are saying something and the other one is not agreeing to it or differs on opinion or difference of opinion, something like that?
There is yeah, lot of heated arguments between me and especially payload PIs.
So how do you handle? How easy or difficult it was?
It's to some way it was easy to handle. Some people were very difficult to handle. So it was a mixed thing.
Why this Aditya L1 mission payload work? The different payloads are to be developed from by different institutions. Why this decision was taken in the first place?
Instruments. Actually, originally this Aditya was planned as a very single payload. It's a small low Earth orbit, like Aditya 1. It was planned. Then, over the time, the mass of the spacecraft was increasing, and by that time, we have also gained confidence by our Mars mission and Chandrayaan 1 mission to go interplanetary space. So that time, I have mentioned in my speech also the Professor Uara, who was the one who just gave an idea that why don't we go with a single payload, and with the lower mission, it is of not much important science it can give multifaceted science if you add more instruments and go to L1 and have an interplanetary mission. So that's how all the thoughts were conceived.
Okay. How you study such missions from Earth? How you do that?
Actually, all this payload data will be received from the spacecraft in our, we have a ISSDC, we call that as data dissemination center is there, where all the data will be received. And initially, all the 7 payload data will be segregated, disseminated to the respective payload instruments, whoever have designed the instruments. And they will process the data, and they will analyze the data, and there is some level of processing will be done, and that will be sent back to us, and all the data storage of the processed as well as the raw data is at our sender. And after a lock-in period of some may that is not decided, 3 or 6 months, the data is only be analyzed by the individual payload scientist who has designed the instrument. After that, the data is public.
And when we will get the exact date and time of Aditya L1 reaching the L1 point?
Yeah, it's maybe January 1st or 2nd week, you'll be able to.
Okay. So we have to wait for 2024 to get
2024, the new year, you will get the announcement.
Very nice. So it will be really a very happy new year for all of us.
Yes.
The science enthusiasts as well as the great scientists like you. Like the size of the mission, the weight of the mission, and the budget of the mission. The 3 aspects. If you can come one by one.
Okay. Weight is it is around 1,480 kg. That is the mass of the spacecraft, and the size is it's almost like 3.5 meter tall, and 1.5 meter, 1.5 meter square. So, and the budget is around 378 crores. It is only the spacecraft. It is excluding of the launch. Launch cost is different. So with launch cost, it works out around 600 crores. The vehicle which it is taking the spacecraft to space, no? That vehicle cost, the total mission cost is inclusive of the launch cost plus the spacecraft. This comes around 600 crores.
Thank you so much for taking out time to speak to us in detail about the Aditya L1 mission.
Thank you.